All right. I just wanted to welcome everybody to this month's Long Island Railroad Commuter Council meeting. It's 4:33 p.m. We do not have a quorum, so this will not be an official meeting, so we don't have to go through the approval of the agenda or anything of that nature. Anna Garcia is already with us this afternoon, so we're going to go right to Anna. Anna, you want to give us your report?
Yeah, absolutely. Good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully, everyone's enjoying the beautiful weather out. So I'll give my quick updates and go from there. Due to our Queens Interlocking project, this weekend, April 18th, the next weekend, the 25th, we're going to be continuing our signal upgrades between Floral Park and Queens Village. Like I mentioned, it's part of the Queens Interlocking project. So this is just a longer term effort to modernize and streamline our track infrastructure in this critical corridor. And just as a tidbit for the second weekend, which is next weekend, the 25th, it's dependent on the Islanders' playoff schedule. So if the Islanders are in the playoffs, we'll have to find another weekend for the work to make sure that the fans have, a seamless experience getting to and from the game.
But I have some bad news for you.
I'm sorry.
They did not make the playoffs. So
I don't mean to laugh if there's any Islander fans in here. So I don't follow sports, so that's a new one for me. So thanks for that, Jerry.
Yeah,
right,
so, put the marker.
Now is that so the second weekend will be.
No, my poor husband. Yeah. Said the Rangers fan. Sorry, but yeah.
Okay, so that means. So that just means both weekends will stay as is, unfortunately, for the Islander fans. So what that means for these 2 weekends, there'll be no Hempstead branch service operating. However, there'll be some unique service changes in effect. So for Hollis, Queens Village, and Elmont UPS, there'll be westbound train service via the Huntington branch trains. There'll be no eastbound train service at these stations. And New York City Transit will cross honor, so the buses will also cross honor riders in both directions between Jamaica, Hollis, and Queens Village. At Floral Park, service will be available in both directions on the Huntington branch. For Stewart Manor, Nassau Boulevard, Garden City, and Hempstead will provide bus service to and from Mineola. And for Belrose and Country Life Press, Nice Bus will cross honor a light bar tickets on nearby routes. And Ronkonkoma branch service will be reduced to hourly in both in both directions. Just to piggyback on this service, the service change will be we're going to be rehabilitating the Hilton Avenue grade crossing. That's just east of the Garden City station. So that should be fun for the next 2 weekends. And just wanted to flag that we're going to continue to cross honor the route until May 31st at Forest Hills due to the closure of the ADA ramp on the eastbound platform. So once again, we're going to be cross honoring Forest Hills 71st Avenue, and that's for reduced fare railroad ticket holders only. So just wanted to flag that. And if there's any questions or concerns about that, you can reach out to me. And lastly, I know folks wanted to get a quick update on our Help Point units. I know that we did a trip not too long ago with a couple of members. So from our latest update since our previous report, so Help Point units have been installed at 4 additional stations. At the Patchogue station, there's 1 unit on the westbound platform. At Bayshore, another 1 unit on the westbound platform. Islip station, also 1 unit on the westbound platform, and then also at Great River. So Patchogue, Bayshore, Islip, and Great River all have 1 new unit on their westbound platform.
So there's only one platform in several of those.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So just for folks to know. So our engineering team continues installations, across our system. So we have an additional 28 stations, scheduled for completion through 2027. So as that progresses, I'll definitely keep folks updated.
And I just want to clarify what I was saying. So like in Patchogue and Great River, there's only 1 platform. So it might be confused.
Platforms.
Great River has 2, but Patchogue only has the 1.
Patchogue only has the 1. Yeah, Patchogue and everything going out from Patchogue only has 1 platform.
Right. Sorry, you're right. I stand corrected. But you may not want to say westbound from Patchogue because that might confuse people.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Thank you for that. I definitely don't want to confuse people, but yes, happy to have those installations. So as those Help units get installed, I definitely will make sure to keep folks updated on these calls.
Can you check in on? You never mentioned Sayville, and every state you have mentioned every station from Patchogue to Babylon, but you missed Sayville. does Sayville already have one, or for some reason they decided to skip Sayville on this? You figure they do the whole branch.
That probably possibly should be on the list to do, but I will find that out and I'll get back to you, Jerry. I'll follow up with the project team.
Okay, no, I appreciate that.
Yeah, and then those are my updates. So, if there's any questions, let me know.
Okay. I understand the spring customer survey is coming up. Can you just let us know, has that started? And if it has started, how can people access it?
Yeah, definitely going to make a note for myself right here. Survey, I'll tell you. I don't have I'm at my usual desk. I'm actually at headquarters today, so I don't have my usual notepad. So I'm writing these. I'm actually typing up my notes. So I'll definitely get back to you on the customer survey and the Sayville helpline.
I believe the people who get the emails receive that information, but not everybody is signed up for the emails with the email alerts with the railroad. So
got it.
Alrighty. One other thing, I just wanted you, since you are, customer relations and governmental affairs, I just want you to relay back to the appropriate people, be it at the Long Island Railroad or the MTA headquarters, that God forbid there is a strike next month. There's a lot of concern that the contingency plan is not robust enough to get in everybody that needs to get in. And we'll bring this up. I will bring this up at the board, at the committee meetings, and the board meeting, either in the conference room or in public. I'm going to talk to Lisa about making a public statement also when we do our testimonies. But like one station in Suffolk County and two stations in Nassau is just not going to be sufficient. And let them know we realize that there is a problem getting buses. We understand that, but there's two factors that are concerning. One is that they seem to be grossly overestimating the amount of people who have the ability to work from home. There are people who can work from home. There are people on hybrid schedules who just tell their boss, I have to work from home all week. But there are a number of people, I was in the construction industry. We had to be on site. There's no working from home when you're in the construction. And the same thing for New York City school teachers, healthcare workers, et cetera. You have to have your butt in the seat in the city. So again, we realize there's no way they're going to duplicate the service with buses, but at least give us, if you gave us, say, Ronkonkoma and then Babylon and Huntington, maybe in Suffolk County, we would definitely need another station on the South Shore. And the other thing, other than overestimating the number of people who they believe can work from home, is parking. There's no possible way, unless they shut down the airport and let us park on the runways, that Ronkonkoma can handle all the cars they're going to need to park there. It's just not going to happen. So again, these are our concerns. And if you could just relay them to the appropriate people, just so this way they have a heads up. And then, of course, in a week or so when I'm in the city, I will mention it to anybody I see. And I just want them to know that, it's coming. And the last thing, and actually this is good news. I know I'm always the purveyor of bad news or questions or complaints or whatever. Apparently the New York State Controller's Office did an audit of the railroad recently. And from what I understand from a source at Newsday, weekend ridership is up 120% from pre-COVID levels. And that is really good news. In fact, unless there's a mass murder or someplace tonight, that will probably be the lead story in Newsday tomorrow. Again, that's what they're telling me. But again, you don't know what's going to happen overnight in the world or on Long Island. But again, that is phenomenal news that we are 120% at pre-COVID levels of weekend ridership. And other than that, unless the staff or our guests have any questions for you. Lisa, I can't see anybody, so can you handle the?
Yes, actually, let's not put out in the universe anything about mass murder. So that's not
Well,
that won't that
what I meant
that
was
too shall not come to pass.
a major incident that could knock
Yeah.
this story off the front page. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah. No, that's great news, and that definitely falls into line with the study, with the work that was done with that PCAC team did as well with the subways. Um, that jives with that too, but it's great news to see that. But that, I guess, reinforces, Jerry, what you had to say about making sure that there is sufficient service, particularly at the start of summer, which I'm sure the railroads have taken into consideration as they look at their timeline. I wanted to bring up the Jamaica Station customer feedback survey. I'm not sure how that was compiled. I'm going to put a link in the chat for folks. I'm hopeful that there will be folks at Jamaica. I know that there's QR codes that people can download, but as we all know, people are buried in their phones. They don't pay attention. Maybe announcements on the trains, if that's not happening already. Announcements at the stations. I think that there are some questions that could potentially be that could have been worded a little bit differently, just to sort of capture all of the different users. But I think that it's a good start, and we would definitely like to be have our voices heard as well in the reconstruction, in the work, the potential work that's going on, which I'm not sure if C&D is going to do that, if that's going to be the Port Authority, what the entities involved are going to be.
Yeah. So just two quick things. One for rather, there are going to be some tabling sessions at Jamaica. Those dates are still being coordinated as of right now. So once I have those dates set, I'll send that to you, Lisa. You can help advertise that to your members as well. But yeah, definitely. Other than the QR code, we'll definitely have some tabling sessions. And to go back to Jerry, the link that I put in the chat is the spring customer survey that actually was launched on April, almost at August. Oops, I'm getting too ahead of myself. April 14th. So that link is now live, and you can share that with folks as well.
I knew it was this week. I thought it was this week, so I didn't know. That's just 2 days ago then. Okay.
I saw the survey, and it's very poorly worded. The choices are poor. I mean, it's over. I'm not a pollster, but when I was doing the survey myself, it was no. It was
I don't
like
think it's
forcing you
written
to
by
answer.
somebody who rides the railroad and takes the subway. I mean, you can't take the railroad to the air train and to the subway, or take it to Jamaica, or just go to Jamaica. You have to be all or one. So
yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Just
hopefully this
the
is
choices,
round one.
Yeah, just the choices are extremely limited. It was just poorly done, in my opinion.
And I will say the MTA does much better surveys than that, even though they're sometimes too long. This was, I think, didn't give that somebody should have written more before they put it together, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mentioned it also to the powers that be today, but they are busy with the budget right now and really couldn't care less about anything else. So,
well, they're 2 weeks late, so they should be concerned about the budget. So, yeah, we're back burner as far as that's concerned. Understandably. Who generated that survey anyway? Was that an MTA survey, or was that something from the governor's office? Or
I think that was the New York State survey, I believe.
Okay, so that would have come from New York State government then. Okay. Yeah, because I mean, we have people that just put surveys together. I think what's that, Yannick, right? That does those. So.
Yeah, for those who haven't seen it yet, go take a look. It's interesting. I'll say that.
Okay. That'd be good. Does anyone have any questions for Anna while she's here? Okay, Anna, would you be able to hang in for about 10 minutes?
I have a hard stop at 5, so yes.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give my chair's report, and this way, if there's any questions regarding my chair's report, that you may be able to jump in and clarify if I can't. Alrighty, so going down to the chair's report, I recently appeared on the News 12 show, Powers and Politics, along with MTA board member Sammy Chu, to discuss the possibility of a Long Island Railroad strike next month. It has been a standing policy of the Long Island Railroad Commuter Council not to take sides in any union contract negotiations. But we do have an obligation to let our riders know how the negotiations are going. At this time, not very well. And if there is a potential for a strike, this time very possible. My major focus over the coming month will be to see if the MTA can develop a more robust contingency plan than what was previously discussed. In my opinion, the current plan will not be able to accommodate all the riders who will need public transit to get to and from work in New York City. And even if enough buses can be provided with only limited departure locations, including only one in Suffolk, there just simply won't be enough parking. As we just discussed a few moments ago, Governor Hochul has announced the launch of a customer engagement effort as part of the proposed $50 million redesign of Jamaica Station. Riders can take an online survey with several questions about their experiences using the station and what improvements they'd like to see. Jamaica is the fourth busiest station in North America. And in addition to Long Island Railroad customers, there are a number of subway and bus riders who use the station as a pass-through to the JFK air train. The primary purpose of the redesign will be to improve pedestrian traffic flow, including the western end of the station. We do hope that the Long Island Railroad Commuter Council will get a seat at the table to advocate for these improvements, along with perhaps a climate-controlled area for passengers awaiting a connection, better grab and go and food options, and perhaps concourse restrooms. Again, that's just a wish list. What we want and what's possible may be two different things, but we'd at least like to put it on the table for consideration. Another item, a letter of thanks was sent earlier this week to MTA Police Chief Taffy for the work done by his officers in identifying and arresting an individual that was spotted watching child pornography on board one of our trains, along with a request that this individual be banned from riding the Long Island Railroad as per an existing MTA policy that allows for the banning of certain individuals from the system. Chief Taffy replied that he would look into that possibility. Obviously, they got to discuss that with the legal department. Whether he would fall into those guidelines or not, we're not sure, but we want them to at least look into it. And the Long Island Railroad continues to work on making improvements to the system with current focus on the Montauk branch, where a temporary platform is being installed at Hampton Bays. This would be the first dual platform on the East End to provide operational flexibility during the busy summer season, which includes the U.S. Open Golf Championship in mid-June. Another improvement being made is the extension of the siding at Southampton Station, which will make it easier to stage change, manage movements, and reduce delays. And that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Larry, staff? Guests?
Gary's dying for a comment. Somebody's got to say something.
That's you know.
I wanted to raise a couple of questions, but they don't pertain to your report.
Well, go ahead. While we have Anna here, while I'm here, let's do it.
Okay, so first off, I did, by the way, receive the email with that survey also. I haven't tried taking it yet. At the last meeting, you noted that the MTA has to buy American, and therefore there are no battery-powered trains made in the U.S., no suppliers from which to buy. I followed up with the office with a note that there are now two companies, I think one of them is Siemens, that are making battery-powered trains in the U.S. The equipment's basically just an electric train with a kit that adds batteries. So I think if you consider the advantages of a battery-powered EMU as opposed to a hybrid electric push-pull engine, we have to worry that the MTA is going to make another bad decision and focus less on passengers and more on the operation of the railroad, and more looking at the short term than the long term. So I would just hope that you would explore this further, because I think there's significant advantages to an EMU, a battery-powered electric EMU, over a hybrid electric push-pull, especially on the non-electric branches on the east end. Secondly, at your meetings, you have spoken a few times about the elimination of the scheduled connections at Jamaica, which is a problem. But I think that emphasis misses a greater rudeness, which is that connecting trains will not be held at Jamaica for even 30 seconds to allow passengers from an arriving train to transfer over. I can tell you countless times my train was pulling into the station just before the doors opened on the train that I'm arriving on. The doors close on the train across the platform and the train pulls out. I mean, we're talking 45 seconds. So this is another instance where the railroad seems to be very focused on the trains arriving on time and not very focused on passengers arriving on time. Uh, and then just lastly, I continue to see uh, passengers getting onto the train and then off a few stations later without anyone coming to collect their tickets. Uh, Only because the crews simply don't walk through a lot on the east end of the island. And I think that's everything I have to say. Yeah, look at that. It is. Thank you.
All righty. Again, we've raised these concerns. In fact, I think they're probably tired. Whenever I say anything about on-time performance, I almost always mention, and Lisa can verify this, and anybody's at the meetings, that I often say that this is without timed connections at Jamaica, and it does not necessarily reflect the customer experience. And that's exactly the reason it doesn't reflect the customer experience, because if you miss a connection and then you got to wait a half an hour or 45 minutes for the next connection and you're staying at Jamaica, yeah, your trains are all on time, but you're 45 minutes late or a half an hour late getting home. And I know that they've started the monitoring the arrival and departure of trains they're trying to get them within 3 minutes instead of 6 minutes. And I think they're like 75% or 80% within 3 minutes of the scheduled times. But I don't know what to tell you. We're going to stay on top of it. It's not something that's going to go away. But then they have assured me that they are making every effort to get the trains as close as possible. But I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I'll just say that I'm sorry, it may be intentional. I mean, they may be more focused on appearing to be on time than actually being on time, getting passengers on time. But there would theoretically be software ways in order to measure uh, when passengers make their connections and when they don't. So, if they really wanted to check this out, I think they could do some better metrics.
So I think that there's been a more of a concerted effort to ensure that people heading east are making those connections because there's fewer trains heading east. I also know firsthand, right, that it does not engender goodwill with the crews, with the riders and the crews, train crews, if you're waiting and because the train just pulled out and then you take it, not you, but it gets taken out on the next train crew. It is so frustrating, and we've all had that experience. I found it's gotten a little bit better because it keeps getting raised. Fill out the customer survey and just keep raising it. You just keep filling that out, keep bringing it home. Jerry keeps bringing it home. We keep raising it. I fill out that survey. As riders, anybody who rides should fill that out, because that is how a lot of information gets imparted. And people who are, who say, well, nothing I do is going to matter. It's the people who don't use their voices who don't get heard.
And one of the things, if you could let us know when you have that experience, because when I've raised the question, the one thing they tell me is that's something that doesn't happen. is, I mean, there are trains that pull out before their connection gets there, obviously, but they basically tell me the train will stay for 30 seconds or a minute if one train is pulling in directly across the platform and they're standing there. They're not supposed to leave. If the other train's if it's a minute behind or a minute and a half behind, yeah, they're going to go. It's unfortunate, but they're not supposed to be in a situation where your door is opening and the other door closes and that train pulls out. They tell me that's not supposed to happen. Now, I don't know whether they're just telling me what I want to hear, but if that is happening, we need to know about it. And I'd appreciate, any information so we can go back to them and say, hey, this train pulled in on track 8 at such, at 4:28, and its connection left, at 4:28 and 10 seconds. Why couldn't they wait? What was going on? So we'd appreciate any input that we can get from the field on that. As for the concern that you have about, you've seen riders get on and then get off 2 or 3 stops later without getting their tickets checked. That is, they don't want to come right out and say it, but that is the main genesis of why we have such a tight expiration date on our tickets, so that those individuals, unless they're going to hop on a train that night, they can't hop on a train tomorrow. Their ticket's expired, and if it's a monthly, it doesn't matter because they're just, it's a monthly. It's good all month. But if it's, if it's a one-day rider, it's not good the next day. So they really don't feel anybody's getting away with anything. But that's one of the reasons I hate the short expiration dates personally, but that is the main reason for it. And try not to make, I've made my concerns known to the powers that be, and try not to rattle too many cages because it is what it is, and no sense, then you wind up accusing the unions of not doing their job, and the last thing we want to do is get into a big dispute with them. Alrighty, so that's where we're at with that. What was the first issue you raised? I'm sorry, Stu.
Electric trains, battery powered trains. So let me just respond to that before we go back, though. I see. I don't take the train every day, but when I take it, I often see people I recognize. They, I think, just simply know that their ticket's not going to be collected. So I don't know. Maybe they're good guys and they buy a ticket each day and activate it, but I'm guessing that they already know it's not an issue for them because the crews always usually follow the same pattern on the same trains. So anyway, so yeah, the other one was battery powered electric trains.
Alrighty, I know they're constantly looking for new vendors. They don't like the fact that there are very limited amount of vendors to purchase from. It lessens their purchasing power when they go in and negotiate contracts. I think Siemens is the vendor that they've spoken to. So we'll see what happens in the future. But I think they've already released a contract for the new dual mode locomotives. I know they haven't, to the best of my knowledge, they haven't even discussed replacing the bi-level coaches yet. But I think the dual mode locomotives, I think that cat's already out of the bag.
Jerry, I may be wrong, but isn't it that they have to be assembled in the United States, not United States products? I think it has to be assembled.
Well, that's just it. Well, again, yeah, it's you can have foreign company. In fact, I'm trying to think which one of these companies just purchased another company in the United States so they can assemble here.
Yeah, it's either Yamaha or Bombardier. I think it is one of those.
Yeah, I believe that's it.
Yeah.
And I think they assemble them upstate New York someplace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can check the email that I sent just after the last meeting. It mentions the two companies. For some reason, I think one is in Utah or Iowa, one of those four-letter states. Um, but they are starting to make them here, and it would just, it first of all, an EMU could travel faster on the curved sections on Long Island. uh, they would fail fewer times and be more reliable. They'd probably last longer. And if there was a failure in one piece of equipment, the rest of the train could still continue to move. They're probably also more energy efficient because um, I forgot what it's called when you brake and it collects the energy back. So there's a number of benefits to these, and I just hope that they're considered.
Stu, you're preaching to the converted here, but the companies have to bid. So that's where
Right.
it all goes.
And another issue, Stu, is that because I brought this up in the past, and they actually did some investigation. They actually gave me a nice glossy thing with different companies they spoke to, but it seems to be the big problem is the charges that these batteries can hold. And might work on a short branch, like the Oyster Bay branch. You might be able to have enough power to run from Mineola to Oyster Bay. It's not likely at this point, at least that's what they're telling me, that they could probably hold a charge that could run all the way from Huntington to, say, Port Jefferson. And definitely not going to have trains with that battery capacity that are going to run all the way out to Montauk. Maybe patch
Lisa, I'm sorry, Lisa, if you check the articles, I'm pretty sure one of them said that it had a pretty long range. I mean, a couple hundred miles. Um, so I thought that would have been a concern too, the range, but it looks like the newer ones would have the capacity. And, they can charge up until um, just past Babylon, and then they could have a charging station in Montauk too. So, there are possibilities.
Yeah, it's still,
I,
let
I
me add,
again, I'm not an engineer.
Stu, let me add one thing in. It's like a car. They'll advertise the car has a range of 300 miles. Oh, you're going to use the air condition? 200 miles. Oh, you're going to have three other passengers in the car? Oh, now it's down to 100. So what the numbers that you're probably seeing is like an empty train car with nothing, no air conditioner, no anything, and that's all got to get taken into account too.
Right, and they're
Yeah,
super heavy,
and
Yeah.
and they have to find. Not everybody wants battery charger, uh, near them, and so they have to find places, near. They have to find sidings where they may not have room already, so they may have to find new sidings where they can do charging. When they did that, and on the Oyster Bay branch, we were super excited about it, like so excited. We were ready for the future. And Phil Eng, who was really like ready to do anything, was like, yeah, no, it just was not a success. It was very
okay.
disappointing, but we'll keep looking, and hopefully they'll keep trying. And when the hydrogen comes here, then hopefully, that won't, that'll be a success too. But
Technology is evolving constantly. So things that might not be realistic or feasible right now, who knows? 10 years from now, they could be bidding out for hydrogen trains or things of that nature. All I know is what they're telling me right now at this point in time. The investigations that they've done is it won't work right now. I'm not saying it won't work 10 years from now. Might even work 5 years from now. Who knows? And a lot of these companies are doing things over in Europe that hopefully they can bring some of that technology over here. But it's not as simple as you might think, and as I found out from the conversations that I've had. Now, again, I'm not an engineer either, so I mean, they could be telling me all sorts of stuff, and I have really no way of verifying it. But I'm pretty certain what they're telling me is true.
And up in the north of Rochester in Nowhere's country, they just built a gigantic hydrogen plant, and they are building things right now for offices, including lifts and things like that for other stores that'll work on hydrogen and not other gases, which is it was kind of neat to look at this stuff. It's
Oh
coming.
yeah, well, I believe it's Alstom has hydrogen trains in Germany right now, and they're running rather successfully. Now, how you fuel those trains and whatever, I'm not familiar with what it takes to do that, what kind of infrastructure is needed. But I mean, it is happening in other parts of the world. It is happening in Europe. So eventually, I'm sure eventually it will find its way here, but not this year. Anybody else have any questions? Well, Lisa, if then nobody else has any questions, do you want to go down to your reports?
So well, I'm back. Yay! This is my first week back, so I'm actually going to ask Brian and Kara to report, because all I can report is that I'm back. I haven't made it to the office yet because I am now a bus person. I haven't been on the subway yet. However, I did try to take the bus to Woodside last week so I could go to celebrate Greek Easter with my family in Floral Park. And there was no service at Floral Park, at Woodside. So I had to get and share an Uber with somebody. Not my favorite way of getting there, as you all know. So I have to find a way. No, I've found ways, but you have to factor in an extra hour when you're going by bus to get to the railroad anywhere, because of the way service runs. So it's a transit report, but it relates to connectivity everywhere. And if there were, in fact, accessibility at Mets Willets Point, perhaps it would be easy enough to go to a Mets game instead of taking 77 minutes on a bus.
So does this mean you're not going to be doing sit-ups for us to demonstrate how good you are now?
I know sit-ups I can do.
Oh, okay.
It's the walking up and down the stairs that don't have elevators with my rolly cart that I'm still working on the hip.
Just checking. Good to see you back.
Thank you.
Yep. I'll second that motion.
Thank you. So I turn it over to the people who I thank tremendously for once again keeping the trains running on time.
Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, just a few quick updates from us. We've tried to keep things moving in the time Lisa's been out, without our usual Albany person either. Although we are in the hiring process for that, which is great. We have been moving some bills in Albany in fits and starts. Our bill to change the number of nominees for Long Island Railroad Commuter Council has passed the Assembly a while ago and has been referred to its Senate committee to hopefully be passed there and then on the Senate floor. We hope that one will get through this year, having passed both houses, but not in the same year. We're working on some amendments to our Rider Act, which would allow local electeds to make recommendations, as Metro North is able to do now, and make interim appointments to the council to help fill some of our vacancies on a temporary basis, and hope to see a second round of amendments on that bill in probably sometime next week. We also got the Ride and Y bill, which would kind of integrate a travel project to integrate fares systems across the state, introduced in the Assembly. Working on getting a Senate sponsor for that bill. Those are the ones that have major impacts on LIRRCC and Long Island Railroad. Although some of the other bills have moved forward a little bit as well. We also put out a really nice report on congestion pricing and how it's impacted subway ridership in the past year. And Kara, I'll turn it over to Kara to talk a little bit more about that, but we got some really nice coverage from a number of different sources. Had a exclusive in Bloomberg, and then some nice stories in NY1 and AM New York and elsewhere.
And the MTA even liked it.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, I agreed with our findings. Thank you, Brian. So this report started with because TRC member Stewart had asked a couple of times for some data on where exactly subway ridership had changed or grown post-congestion pricing. And so that sort of snowballed into this larger report where we mapped out thanks to our wonderful intern, one of our two wonderful interns, Benji, was able to do some data wizardry and map out every station in the city and look at exactly where that ridership change has happened. And we dove into a couple different time periods too, including the AM peak and then also weekends. And we found that weekend growth has really grown a lot post congestion pricing, which is very aligned with the trend that Jerry mentioned earlier, where the Long Island Railroad's off peak and weekend ridership has bounced back a lot more or a lot more quickly than peak or commutation ridership. So that's a general trend across the entire transit world, whether that's due to COVID or congestion pricing. But it was a really great report, and we're glad that we got some good coverage. And we have a couple more reports in the pipeline as well. One focused on the IBX and one focused on signage and wayfinding around the entire MTA system. One more plug for if you have any areas of the whether it's the Long Island Railroad or just other parts of the transit system where you feel like the signage is confusing, please do let us know and we'll try to cover your concerns in the report.
All righty. Anybody have any questions for Kara or Brian? Yeah, Lisa, you're gonna have to monitor that because the only person I can see is the person who's speaking. So right now I'm looking at Kara, but that's.
Well, I'm going to say something because Senator Conway just sent something out in his first of all, it was a terrific report and everybody really it really emphasized what all the good that's been happening and has been validated a number of times by other organizations too, which then of course makes it real, right? But Senator Conway just sent out his weekly community update, and it looks a lot at elevator service in his district, and particularly on the Long Island Railroad. So he's told everybody that gets his newsletter how to complain to the MTA if their elevators are out. So it'll be interesting to see how what happens. I'm going to imagine that there's a spike in complaints.
Well, we shall see.
Yep. No, there are no.
All right, so if there's no hands up, we'll see if there's any old business that anybody wants to bring up.
I have a very quick social media report if you would
Sure.
like to hear that. It's a lot of the same concerns that we've heard over the last few months. The outcry over the fare policy changes have it's slowed down quite a bit, but we are still getting emails and calls and seeing things about the 10 trip in particular. People are still upset about not having that. And also the people are just encountering the warning notification on train time, even when they're fare paying riders and they activate the ticket right as they board. It seems like that is a little bit aggressive and angering some riders for sure. So that has not totally ended yet, but definitely slowing down as people get used to the new fare changes. And then secondly, every year as the weather gets warmer, there are more complaints about the M3s where the air conditioning does not work quite as well. We know that those are hopefully going to go away at some point, but still some concerns. And then also ongoing concerns about crowding on peak trains, especially to Penn Station more recently.
And that seems pretty consistent to what I've been monitoring on social media myself. So any questions, concerns regarding that? All right. Any old business anybody wants to bring up? Any new business anybody wants to bring up? Okay. Lisa, are we clear? No hands up anywhere?
We are clear.
All righty, then we are adjourned at 5:17 p.m.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Welcome back,
Hey,
Lisa.
have a good one.
Thank you.